guy.
Yeah, it's like the New York Giants when Nick picked them. It's a lot like Nick Foles when he took over their seasons.
What happened? What about Villanova?
And he said Tom Brady didn't have anything left.
What about Villanova?
You're getting on our winning train. That's generalized relationship.
How dare you?
Moving on to CC's Buckeyes. Here you go, CC. Ohio State finalizing a 2-year extension for Urban Meyer that would make him the highest-paid coach in the Big Ten. Meyer 73-8 in 6 seasons with the Buckeyes, and the extension would keep him with Ohio State through 2022. CC, how happy are you for him and your Buckeyes?
Yeah, that's our agreement. He hadn't accomplished enough. We only gave him 2 years because we still want to make him hungry. All right, he's done well. Yeah, you've been there 6 years, only lost 8 games. We due for another national championship. Hey, Urban, like I always tell you, I'm in the Hall of Fame, bro. You ain't in the Hall of Fame yet. But that's my guy, though. He can stay there as long as he wants to. But it's nice from a recruiting standpoint to let the recruits know Urban's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And who else should be the highest paid coach in the Big Ten? Huh?
So Jim Harbaugh on a lifetime contract for Urban Meyer?
I mean, they're a basketball school.
Okay.
They were just in the national championship. That was their best chance for a national championship, and the big sports is in basketball.
All right, just real quick. You were saying I'm on a bad streak. I'm jinxing teams of picking champions. 2018 Ohio State Buckeyes, undefeated national champions. Mark it down. Lock it up. Take it to the bank, Chris Carter. Put that down in the prediction book. Nick Wright says it. How's that one feel?
God, please change your luck, because one of my kids getting ready to break his leg. Something bad getting ready to happen.
Good for Urban Meyer, friend of the show, Urban Meyer.
All right, finally this morning.
Money well spent.
Conor McGregor has been formally charged with 3 counts of assault following an outburst at UFC 223 Media Day at Barclays Center yesterday. McGregor turned himself into police custody after throwing a guardrail at a bus full of UFC fighters. UFC President Dana White will join us shortly to discuss. But, Nick, what was your reaction to McGregor's outburst here?
All right, to be full disclosure, my initial reaction as reports were filtering in was I thought this was a work, as they call it.
Like staged.
Yeah, that I thought, because I hadn't seen the full video, I didn't know everything that happened. I said, oh, okay. So McGregor shows up. Then what they're doing is they're trying to set up the next fight with Khabib. Like, that's what I thought was happening. And then you see the video. And then you see him getting arrested.
And then you see that people got hurt.
Man, multiple people got hurt. He had to scratch multiple fights. And like you said, we're talking to Dana White about this in a moment. But I mean, this is, I would set the over-under at $40 million. This may have cost Conor McGregor. And I'm not even talking future earnings. I'm talking lawsuits. I'm talking about, I mean, if you're a fighter, if you're Pettis, and now you can't fight, like,
supposed to be fighting on Saturday night.
Supposed to be fighting on the not even the prelims, in the main pay-per-view card. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm no lawyer, but I would say, listen, guess what? We're in Barclays. We're in New York. We're in a UFC pay-per-view. This is what was going to launch me to become him, and now you've robbed me of it. Like, now my career is forever altered. So I'm going to need some of that money, man. I don't know what happened. I understand the fight game's different. I understand we accept things in the fight game we don't accept in other sports.
Yes.
But this was so above and beyond what is acceptable in any walk of life. It was remarkable.
And they've been pushing it right to the edge, you know, as far as promoting fights, things they were allowed to that, oh, you know, that's just him, or that's just the business. But they went too far. And I don't know, I mean, with security today, how'd they get into the Barclays?
So Dana White talked about this. 2 media members let him in. 2 accredited, now Dana's upset with those guys. He wants those guys arrested. But 2 guys let in his whole crew. And then as far as security goes, man, I mean, if I'm working like part-time security at Barclays, Conor McGregor and 20 dudes, I don't want none of that.
The other thing that's a little hazy is the why. There are multiple reports of why he did this and the grudge that he had and
this is the thing.
What he was upset about.
He's petty, and he's lost perspective. Because where would he be without UFC? I mean, they staged this big event with Floyd. I mean, that was a heist. That was a money heist. Like, that was no fight. Like, where would Conor McGregor be without that money that he got on that night that it wasn't a fight? So for me, he's lost perspective. Other people are trying to build their career, and he's gone too far. Yeah. It's time to rein him in. Normal people wouldn't be allowed to do something like that. Enter a sporting event. assault people, and be able to leave the building.
Ridiculous.
Like I was pretty shocked that they got in, and I was more shocked that they let them out after the things that they did.
I want to just add a little context because Connor got away, not with something this bad, but remember when he threw the full cans and there was the press conference,
yep.
and it was full, I don't know, maybe energy drinks, whatever it was. He's throwing them. There's a crowd there. There's media there. And I mean, they were, again, like you guys know how heavy a soda can is, or like,
or a water bottle, a plastic water bottle.
But it wasn't just that. It was also cans. It was water bottles and cans. Could have really hurt people. And he kind of skirted on this one. He's not going to skirt on this. Like, the penalties for this, and I'm very curious if Dana White, I mean, now that he's had at least a night to rest on it, we'll talk to him in a few minutes, like, if he wants to be in the Conor McGregor business anymore. Because as we saw, he doesn't have a boxing future. Now, he's acting like he thinks he's got some type of wrestling future. Like, but, I mean, that was unbelievable to see.
All right, again, Dana White will be here. We'll ask him a number of questions about this, but we'll move on right now. You know, if these two guys, my co-anchors, were Seinfeld fans, I'd remind them of the great Even Steven episode. You know, lose $20, find $20. Patriots love that episode. Lose a wide receiver, pick up a wide receiver. It's just that easy. You see where I'm going now?
Man, I got that. You got to give me a little warning.
I gave you warning.
What's his name?
What's his name?
Seinfeld.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Jerry Seinfeld. All right, on Wednesday, they said goodbye to Brandon Cooks. On Thursday, they said hello to Jordan Matthews. New England signed Matthews to a one-year deal yesterday. He struggled in Buffalo last season, only catching 25 balls and battling injuries all year. All right, CC. Seinfeld aside, how much will Matthews be able to replace the productivity that Brandon Cooks gave this Patriots team last year?
Well, it's going to be hard to just replace the productivity with a guy who is not necessarily an outside receiver. I mean, who is Jordan Matthews? He can play outside because he's got some height. Not a real speed receiver. I believe he's a possession receiver, and I take that as a possession receiver. I don't take that as a slight. It's what their skill set is. Brandon Cook, one of the fastest wide receivers that we've seen in the NFL as far as a starter. All right? You cannot replace the threat that he has on that offense. So now it makes me think he's a lot like when they acquired Chris Hogan 2 years ago. Now, he'll be playing with the best quarterback in his career, started his career in Philadelphia, and then went on over to Buffalo. Didn't have the productivity there in Buffalo. That's how he ends up in New England. But them also signed him to a one-year deal. If he doesn't do well in the offseason, doesn't do well in training camp, they could cut him. So this is just a tryout. So before we get consumed with him being on the team, his skill set is he's a possession receiver, a lot like Malcolm Mitchell, who they have, will be back from an injury, a lot like Hogan, who they got from Buffalo, who has been productive, but can play some in the slot. But he won't be able to replace Amendola, his productivity in the slot, or Brandon Cook, what he did outside.
He is a better athlete than most of the Patriot receivers, and I don't say that for what some people would call the obvious reason, but because at the Combine, he was a stud at the Combine.
Yes.
Had more bench press reps than any wide receiver. We're in a sub 4.5 40. Had a 36-inch vertical. His measurables were really good at the Combine. That's really, I'm be honest, I know that about him. I know a few. I remember the trade last offseason when Buffalo got off Sammy Watkins. They then bring in Jordan Matthews. But you've known Jordan since before he was in the NFL. A lot of when the Patriots make a move, it's a lot about play, but it's also a lot about personality, intelligence, ability to pick up the offense.
Now he has all those things.
Just tell us a little bit about Jordan Matthews, the guy.
He has the temperament of a New England player. He's not a diva wide receiver. He's not a high maintenance. Very, very bright guy. Played college ball at Vanderbilt. He will fit into the New England way. So he is a guy that Belichick likes to get. He's got a clean resume besides being injured as far as his character and everything off the field. It speaks to New England in the way they do things. And, man, they bring you there on a one-year tryout. Typically, they get the best from you. They like to be able to match some of the productivity that he had playing for Chip Kelly, being a slot receiver, because New England typically doesn't go for a bigger slot receiver. And that's what Jordan would get them. That, to me, I believe, is the change of pace that we could see there in New England.
Does that mean the Patriots are done looking for help at wide receiver? Does he come in and replace Brandon Cooks?
I think, and this is no disrespect Jordan Matthews, I think the fact that he's the first guy they are able to sign shows you what type of help is out there. Like the fact that there are no oh wait, well this solves it left. And by the way, I don't think there's that in the draft either. So like whatever it's going to be either a guy who plays better than he had in any other place in his career or a guy who reclaims something from earlier in his career. It's going to be that type of situation. There are no B-level or higher players left in free agency at this point, not at that position. There's some safeties available, but that's not what they seem to be targeting.
Yeah, it's really hard to replace the speed that Brandon Cook brought to the lineup. So for me, I wouldn't be shocked if they draft a wide receiver. But New England, what are the characteristics of the players they want? They like smart guys. They like guys who have played in the league, have experience, and they're pros. They know how to work within a pro, but also college graduates. Even though these guys are coming out of college, rookies haven't done well in New England's offense. All right, so to get someone like Jordan, that is a bonus compared to relying on someone coming out of this year's draft.
All right, take a break. Coming up, Dana White will join us to let us know what actually happened last night with Conor McGregor. That's ahead.